Welcome back. News Until 1380 WAOK, the voice of the community. This is a Patillo podcast edition. As I said, we are talking about some of these places around the world, both good and bad, where self-rule is either being pursued, or where they've achieved it. We talked about Catalonia, where things are going well, and it looks like those regions will be able to govern themselves. We also talked about Nagorno-Karabakh in Armenia, where there may be ethnic cleansing going on because things did not go so well. We talked about Corsica, where things are going great, and it looks like the French government is going to recognize them and give them their autonomy. But also, I think we should talk about Haiti. Haiti, a nation that broke away from French colonial rule, which deposed the slave masters, and that the Western powers have set out to destroy for the last 200 plus years. As long as America has been a country, they've attempted to destroy Haiti. The French have never forgiven the colonial debt that they extracted from Haiti. The Western powers have never allowed them to be fully integrated into the African Union, for example, which is a proposal from several years ago. We've seen U.S. occupations there from 1919 all the way up until 1934. We saw the U.S. Disparate treatment of Haitian migrants versus Cuban migrants with the wet foot, dry foot policy. We saw during the Clinton administration the attempted assassination of Jean-Pierre Aristide and the sending of U.S. forces there to quote unquote peacekeep. We saw during the Bush administration the kidnapping of the president. They dropped him off in the Congo and then put their own puppet president in place there. We saw after the earthquake in 2010 that instead of aid going to actually helping and reconstructing the infrastructure that existed there previously and recovering from the over 250,000 people that died as a result of that earthquake and the displacement of tens of thousands of people across the hemisphere, the Clinton Global Initiative and the Red Cross went in there and they stole every penny they could get their hands on. They stole the trees. Did y'all know that they stole the trees? If you look from space at satellite imagery of the island of Hispaniola, the island that Haiti and the Dominican Republic share, if you look at night, you can see the difference in infrastructure. The Dominican side of the island almost 100% electrified. Large cities, you can see the light mapping where you can see the lights from the city from space. Haiti, almost completely dark. Almost as stark as the difference between North and South Korea, where you'll see a similar difference. But if you look at a topographical map from space during the daytime, you'll see that Dominican Republic has lush and thick rainforest that still exists there. Haiti's forests have been almost completely deforested because while the U.S. and the UN troops were there, they cut down all the trees for fuel in order to burn fires and be comfortable and all those things, leaving the island all but barren, because they refused to ship them kerosene and gasoline, all those sorts of things, in order for them to have a modern system. People just had to burn wood because of what the U.S. and the foreign powers were doing. Not to mention that during the decade of UN peacekeeping in Haiti, we had an entire generation of what they called the Petit Blanc, the little whites, of mulatto children being born on the island because of the rampant rape and pillaging of UN peacekeepers, quote unquote, on the Haitian countryside. So now we saw the assassination of the previous president, Jean-Val Moïse, several years ago by quote unquote Colombians. They tried to blame it. They tried to blame Colombians for the assassination of the Haitian president, where they just walked into the presidential palace, didn't fire a single shot, didn't kill anybody, didn't hurt anybody, except for when they shot the president. And we know that there were U.S. DEA agents on the ground in Port-au-Prince at that time. Really? And we're supposed to believe the Colombians did it? And these random lackeys are the only people who have been arrested in that. And since then, there's been a illegitimate president in place, the prime minister, Henri. There have not been elections. There are currently no elected officials on the island because the democratic system has broken down. There are no full-time police officers on the island because there's no government to pay them. Therefore, they have had to turn to militias and gangs, people like Jimmy Barbecue Chemizier, who has been running parts of Port-au-Prince, and the things have gone terribly. And so the question has been, who will be able to come in and keep the peace? Because clearly you can't send America back in. We've seen what happens when you send America in there. But at the same time, America does not want China to go in and take that area because it's still one of the most profitable colonies in the world. Remember, the other Hispaniola was the crown jewel of the French Empire, the most profitable colony in the Western Hemisphere. So it's not that it doesn't have resources, it's just simply they've been destroyed by Western powers interfering and dictating to them exactly what's going on in the island. So, as I said previously, there have been previous attempts to have Haiti join the African Union because genetically, Haitians and Africans are almost the same dang people. If you look at somebody in Port-au-Prince, if you look at somebody in Ghana, they look like they cousins because they are cousins. If you look at linguistically, the languages spoken in Haiti is very similar to other Francophone African colonies where you have a mixture of West African in combination with French. So linguistically, they're similar. If you look religiously, the word voodoo that is colloquially used here in America, very similar to voodoo, which is medicine and many West African dialects. So we're talking about people that that for all intents and purposes should be linked together, and therefore the idea was created that instead of having European powers, instead of having America or the French, or some people even said the Canadians to lead these peacekeeping forces into Haiti, the idea being the Canadians, you have Quebec, so they speak French, so they should be able to communicate and better integrate with the people there. Kenya has volunteered to send 1,000 peacekeepers to help stabilize the situation there, to wrest power away from the gangs and from the militia leaders, in addition to an international force led by Africans. And what we have seen, going to the situation we talked about previously with ECOWAS versus Mali and Burkina Faso and Niger, and now Gambia and other nations that have had coups, as they would call it, or as I say, revolutions to overthrow colonial rule and colonial puppet rule. Generally, African nations have, when put together without outside interference, have been able to amicably solve many of the problems that exist indigenously among them. Most of the wars that you see, whether it's Hutu and Tutsi, whether it's the East African Civil War in Sudan, whether it's the social strife that exists in Libya right now, most of those are caused by the Western colonial powers interfering with inter-ethnic tensions that exist there and then exacerbating that into full-blown civil wars so that they can come in, clean up afterwards, and extract the resources to take back to Europe and to America. The hope is that by having Kenya lead this force and by having support from other African nations to lead a force into Haiti, you can avoid many of the negative externalities that have taken place as a result of the Western powers interfering, and hopefully stabilize things to the point that you can resume elections, that you can resume normal public services, electricity, fire, medical care, etc. Because my family members who are in Haiti have said that things have descended to a point worse than any point in their lifetimes, worse than under Papa Doc, worse than under Baby Doc, worse than under Aristide, that the entirety of the social structure is broken down, and it can all be traced to the assassination of Moise. And many people believe that the Western powers had something to do with his assassination. As we have said, he had just returned from a trip to Turkey. He had been dealing with the governments of Colombia and Central American governments on trade deals. So the U.S. does not generally like people making deals in their backyard that they're not in control of. And as a result, we've seen the island plunged into chaos. The same thing is going on in Libya right now, where the U.S. under Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton assassinated Muammar Gaddafi. The country fell into complete disrepair for the last decade. The country's on the verge of splitting between East and West Libya. And then when a dam breaks because there's no functioning government that can actually provide services and take care of the infrastructure, as many as 20,000 people die that flood that took place, and the Western media barely talks about it. This is why it's important for Africans to take care of Africans in the diaspora, because Wakanda wasn't just a movie. There's a reality to this idea of us needing to work together, both in the diaspora and on the continent. We're going to keep this conversation going after the break. I'm going to play the speech from the Kenyan president after the break so you can hear directly from him what his plans are for Haiti. News and Talk 1380 WAOK.